I grew up in northwestern Ohio, in Defiance, Ohio, rural community, and grew up there. I had a mother and father that were both active in Republican politics. My dad was a former party chairman and served on the Board of Elections. And I grew up in a rural community, and actually, growing up, eventually inherited and owned some farmland up in Defiance, but then went to Defiance High School, then Miami University, and then Capital Law School, and I've been down in the Central Ohio area ever since 1995. Well, I always wanted to get more involved in the community. I always liked to help people, and I always had Republican ideals, conservative ideals. So after I got established and had my first job out of law school, I ran for the Republican Central Committee, and that's where I got my first taste. I'd learned about Republican politics from my parents up in northwestern Ohio. And after winning the race for Central Committee, I ran for Township Trustee. So I served 6 years on the Central Committee, and of those 6, part of that time I was also a Township Trustee, which I served for 5 years. You on the grassroots level, you learn a lot about government as a Township Trustee. You learn about how to staff a police department, how to fund a fire department, how to hire a police chief, the senior center, repairing roads, and I loved it. You're hands-on with the constituent base, so I really enjoyed it and figured a good way to do that on a bigger level would be to run for the House of Representatives. The seat was being vacated by Linda Rottelbach after she served for 4 years. It took us all by surprise, so I was off and running and got the party endorsement. And then served, of course, 4 years in the Ohio House of Representatives, and this is my 8th year in the Ohio Senate. Well, a lot of the things that I've done in the General Assembly I want to take with me on a bigger level. I've worked hand in hand on many big, very important issues in the state of Ohio. Number one, balancing an imbalanced budget. Number 2, I work behind the scenes closely with other colleagues in the Senate to implement a tax cut of over $3 billion. Some politicians say they're going to do it, but to actually do it is a very difficult thing to do. And some of the knowledge that I can take with me. I've also worked very hard for people with disabilities. I've done a lot in the developmentally disabled and autism community, and also the victims community with victims of domestic violence and violent crimes. And after 12 years in the General Assembly, you learn how to do things more effectively. I've had probably 15, 20 Legislator of the Year awards to reflect a lot of these accomplishments, from the NFIB Small Business Person of the Year Award to numerous awards in developmental disabilities and victims related, and also business and insurance and others. So that was a nice foundation to build upon, to take it to a place badly in need of level-headed legislators and effective legislators. People say, why do you want to run? It's a mess out there. It's borderline dysfunctional. I say, well, I want to run because I want to go make an impact on that. You have to have people that want to jump into that fray. We have many congressmen and women deciding not to run this year. And there's a reason for that. Some of them, it was just time to go and they moved on to better opportunities, like our great friend Pat Tiberi. But many people are disgruntled because they don't feel like they're effective anymore. So you really want the new blood, people who can get in there and really want to make an impact and push and push and push. And that's what I intend to do. So I'm gladly running for Congress. I'm enthusiastic. I'm excited. We have a campaign with lots of momentum. We're just building up. We're moving along at a fast pace. The support has been outstanding. And I should also mention that with the blue wave coming in, I'm the only candidate that has actually been successful in fighting the blue wave. In 2006 and 2008, I ran in a Democrat-leaning House district when Ted Strickland and Barack Obama got elected, and still won when Republicans were losing left and right. So I've won in the blue areas of the district. The Sabato Ball, they just indexed the score of our district now lean Republican instead of likely Republican, and I think that's going to start drawing in national money. So you need someone who has had the track record of accomplishments, which I have, and also someone who knows how to win in the blue areas and has already won in the blue areas, which I have and no other legislator has. And also the fact that we've had strong campaigns in Central Ohio, spent a lot of dollars, in excess of $3 million in mass media, which carries over to other parts of the congressional district, clearly makes me the best candidate to represent District 12 and the best candidate to win in the general election. Strong pro-life. I've always been pro-life my entire life in my entire General Assembly. I've never had anything short of a 100% record on all pro-life. I just value the sanctity of life. I've always, tried to be helpful and push in whatever efforts I can to protect the right of the unborn. I've been solid in that regard. I've never wavered, and I never will. Well, I tell you what, I can tell you that, and I can do that by pointing back to what I've done. Many of the candidates in this race are talking about what they are going to do. I'm one of the few that can actually say what I've done, and things that not only that I've done, that I will continue to do. And one of the things that I've done by earning that Legislator of the Year award by the NFIB Ohio, there's a reason for that, and I'm going to continue to do those things. And obviously, cutting regulations, making businesses operate more efficiently. But then I've done even more, have even gone further with small business issues. Even something like the sales tax holiday. We just got that passed on a permanent basis. That took me maybe 10 years to get that done on a permanent basis. Probably took me 6 or 7 years to even get it passed the first time on a temporary basis. That's a fun thing for our constituents. They save a little money. And in the business community, it's not just fun, it's very important. They earn a lot of revenue during those 3 days. Not just the big retailers, but the small business on the NFIB have been staunch advocates of it. So I have found ways to help the small business community, and also I work a lot on health insurance areas, to which if there's anyone impacted more, there's no one impacted more than the consumer policies and the small business policies. So I've gone out of my way, other than just saying, well, I voted with them. I've actually taken leadership and pushed forward successfully with issues that are important to small business, and I'll continue to do that. So all of these things I'm going to take, I'm going to take with me, whether it's small business, whether it's disabilities-related victims, and all of these things I'm going to take with me to Congress. I've always been a staunch supporter of the Second Amendment. As someone growing up in northwestern Ohio, early in my life, getting a hunting license and also learning how to shoot a gun and handle it safely and responsibly. I've always valued the Second Amendment, will continue to do so. Now, a lot of discussions have come up recently with instances in schools and otherwise, and I think that we have a lot of issues to discuss on the safety front, but I think we need to discuss them holistically. We need to talk about when the knee-jerk reaction is, we'll get rid of the guns. Well, we have to talk about things like mental health. We have to talk about things like school safety. We have to talk about things like the opioid addiction. There are all kinds of things that we have to talk about with, what drives, activity, what drives these things to happen, as opposed to just blaming the gun. So I've always been a strong Second Amendment supporter, and will continue to be. Well, if you're looking at a Republican primary, number one, I'm a conservative, and not only do I say that what I'm going to do, if you look at my background, I have a true conservative, pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, pro-business voting record, not just voting record, but issues I've taken leadership on. So I've got the conservative platform. I've been an effective legislator, I think more so an effective elected official, more so than anyone else in this field. And also no one has demonstrated the ability to win in a blue tide like I have. So I believe that for those reasons, I stand out amongst all of my opponents. And I think that I'm the best person, the one that can win the primary and also do well, better than any other of my opponents in the general.